play from In the Mix.
What's your name?
Ruben.
Yes, very
nice to meet you, Ruben.
And we're from In the Mix. It's a show on PBS talking about youth and politics.
Yeah. I would just like to ask you a couple of quick questions if you have the time.
How can young people find out the difference between truth and spin in politics?
Can I ask you a couple questions for PBS?
In the Mix.
In the Mix for teens.
I'm sorry. We have a question for PBS.
Find out the real deal.
A lot of young people don't feel that they can find out the truth.
They don't hear the voice of these young people. They're just going to forget about us. Right over there. Politicians giving speeches all about George W. Bush.
The journalists, the reporters, the pundits.
We all have to watch and learn.
Because if we don't participate, no one's going to make us.
As a teenager nowadays, when we hear politics, we don't really see the value of what putting a good politician in office means to us.
But since you're a kid, sometimes you don't really pay attention to politics and things like that.
Rarely do you ever see a politician get down to the level of the teenagers to see where we're coming from.
They're not talking to us because they probably think we don't care either. So why would they talk to us? Most people aren't involved. They don't really care, you know. Yes, most people, are you voting? Some people are like, no. What does it matter? Why does my vote matter?
Most voters depend on the television, the radio, and the newspaper to tell them who to vote for. Rarely do you find voters who wants to go out there and do the research, find the information and educate themselves by themselves to make the right choice for them. And that's the problem with the game. It's the spectators that have lost what the meaning of politics is. They're no longer being educated voters, but just simply voters.
Tonight on The Daily Show.
John, first of all, you call yourself the #1 fake news show in America.
I've just blown our fake coverage. We are definitely a fake news show.
The problem with politics is that it's fake and you don't know what's real and what's not. You know, it's called spin.
Spinning all the time, spinning's part of the process.
Spin, from the perspective of somebody who's an expert at it, is nothing more than presenting your position and your candidate in the most favorable light.
One of the emphasis of politics is to spin because their concept is to make me look good, to make my policy look good.
I read so much stuff that was contradictory. I wanted to see if maybe I could find out for myself. I like talking to people.
Here we are at the Republican National Convention. It may not look very glamorous from here because, as you can see, we're standing in a trailer park. This is not just any trailer park. This is where thousands of journalists come together and cover the convention that's inside. We're going to take you in there and speak to politicians, members of the media, and help you figure out how to separate the rhetoric from the reality.
Let us go down to our correspondents on the floor of the First Union Center. Stephen Colbert, just what does the GOP hope to accomplish at the convention?
We will restore decency and integrity.
To ensure freedom's survival.
To transform history.
Together, we will renew America's purpose.
Stephen, what exactly does that mean?
Renewing America's purpose together.
It's really a three-pronged process. As you can see, the first prong, which is interestingly enough last, the together part, they've got down. They're here, they're together. The next two parts are a little trickier. First, they need to figure out what America's purpose is. Then they have the added challenge of renewing it.
Senator, and I don't want to give the wrong impression, this is my first convention, but it's awful boring.
The convention is an infomercial, but they're not selling stain remover or hair treatments, they're selling a presidential candidate.
Do you think that young people are perhaps feeling that the system is not for them?
Younger people might not feel they need government. Politics has to come out and grab them in some way. And conventions are one way.
A lot of young people, myself included, feel like maybe we can't afford to be in politics because there are all these special interest groups. You know, we see that Gore and Bush together have raised $150 million. Money is a barrier because we don't have our own funds. How can we really be that effective?
That's a good question. First of all, you have influence too. Ultimately, you can do just what the special interests do. You can vote. And people, if they know you vote, they will pay attention to you.
I wanted to know, what is the process that decides where the money goes?
The budget process is probably the most important process that happens in government. That's how they take in your money that you pay for taxes mainly, and then they decide how that money is going to be spent. That's something we all have to be involved in. It gets down to another point, registering to vote, because when they divide up the money doesn't necessarily go to the areas where there's the greatest need. The money goes to the areas where there are the greatest number of votes. So the budget process is a highly political process that is determined not on the basis of rationality or need, but on the basis of political clout. The people who have political clout, they get their resources. The people who don't exercise their political clout, they get left out.
Until people truly involve themselves and learn about what they need to have done and who they're electing to do that for them, they can't truly participate.
We're only as passive as we want to be, and now looking at it, you could become aware. You could choose to sit and watch and have your own opinions, or you could choose, to get involved.
You really have to figure out, who's telling the story. Are you watching it on a network? Why are they showing it to you? Who pays for them? I mean, there are just so many layers of it. For more information about this and other In the Mix shows, you can check out our website at inthemix.org. You'll find transcripts, discussion guides, video clips, resources, how to get a copy, and lots more. And as always, we'd love to hear your opinions and suggestions on politics and any other topics. You can email us at inthemix@pbs.org. Or you can write to us at 114 East 32nd Street, New York, New York, 10016.